So I'm super, super excited to chat with you all today and bring back a presentation that is near and dear to my heart because authority anchor is like my absolute favorite thing to talk about. And so I do have slides that I'm going to be screen sharing today. I love that my own like members of my team are here. Marketing support, bookkeeper support, and finance. Current clients are here. I love to see it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. All right. So today we're going to dig into the piece that I think that's really critical for service providers when we start to hit this lull that I call ceiling season. And it's when you have what you feel like is an incredible offer. You have what you hope would be an incredible result. And for some reason, conversions feel like a little more friction than they used to be, right? Referrals might be drying up. The type of clients that you want to be working with seem to be hiding. And you feel like you're kind of pulling teeth to get to work with the people who you really want to, right? I call those level 10 clients. And we tend still serve and work with the people who we've built our business around, right? And we start to kind of realize we're in this transition of, but I know what I'm doing and I know that I can provide an incredible service, but the right people don't know about it, right? And when I'm working with people or I'm on discovery calls, I'm on sales calls, it feels like I'm having to kind of contort myself into this pretzel to provide this custom solution for every single person that's coming through the door. Otherwise, I'm not going to have the clients. Otherwise, I'm not going to meet the revenue goals. And instead of being able to stand in authority of, nope, I know that this is the result that you're after, right? Because I know my level 10 client and I know my authority, and sit in that space of, I am the expert that's guiding you to the solution that we're after, we tend to be saying yes to way too many things, customizing way too many solutions. And ultimately, what that's doing is slowing down your growth and your scalability at the end of the day, right? We tend to be the yes woman for so long as our service businesses build our foundation. But then there is a moment when you are at that fork in the road of deciding to scale that we need to dive all in on authority. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And digging into how you can actually identify your own authority anchor and the impacts that your authority anchor has on so many things in your business and in your services. Okay. So I would love to hear from you all in the chat if any of these things sound familiar, right? You have clients who are sitting on the fence for months. They're saying, not right now, or I don't think I'm ready for that, or maybe I need more than whatever it is that you're putting in front of me. You keep hearing that I'm not ready, but then they never come back, right? And you're sitting there saying, well, how many freaking times am I going to have to follow up with these prospects to get them to actually make a decision and move forward? You've got people who maybe has sent you referrals in the past, but they haven't sent you anyone recently. And every time you go to ask for one, you don't really know how to have that conversation. And you feel like, I can't keep tapping into my warm personal network anymore. I've burnt them out. I've used what I could. And if they're not converting, then I need to go find new people. How many of you have sat there in this season and said, well, I just need more leads. I just need better leads. I just need to get into different rooms, better rooms, right? It's always this thing that it feels like you're missing access to something that you don't have. And as long as you get access to that, whatever that mystery thing is, then that's when things will click into place, right? And we've convinced ourselves that it's access to better people, different people, people outside of our current network because they're not converting anymore, or you've already converted exactly what you could, and that's it. Maybe you're obsessing still about what to call yourself, right? Am I a system strategist, a launch strategist, an OBM? Do I provide fractional support, retainer support? Do I love packages? And you keep cycling through this kind of identity crisis and putting on a new suit every other week to see if this is the answer that's going to be the thing that's going to make things click into place. Maybe you've already, right? The lever for scaling as a service provider, the first thing that all of us do, raise our rates, right? You've probably done that. And you've probably felt like you've reached your kind of max for your specific level 10 client or the people that you want to serve, right? And you say, okay, well, if I want to make more revenue, I can't just keep raising these rates because I want to work with these people. I've solidified this niche and this community, but what is the point for what is the lever that's going to be used in order for me to actually scale? So when new projects come in that aren't really level 10 or aren't your ideal, and they may be what you used to offer, but you don't want to anymore, you're still saying yes to these things so that you can try to bridge that revenue gap. You're at a ceiling season right now of revenue and capacity, and you want to scale past it, and you're willing to basically do whatever it takes to get there. But the levers that you're currently pulling are going to lead to burnoutville. Ask me how I know, right? They're going to lead to not just burnout for your energy and your mental bandwidth, but your audience as well. Of what the fuck does she do? What is she known for? And how can she help me? When she says yes to everything, I don't know what to come to her for. And better yet, I don't know what to tell all of my friends, all of my peers, all of my colleagues and clients and network why they need to buy from her. And that's what we're going to fix today. That's what your authority anchor begins to impact. Okay. So if we haven't met, I'm going to spend 2 seconds on this slide because I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces here. But I put this slide up here mostly to tell you kind of the credentials that I bring into this service-based business space. There are challenges and workshops and webinars and freebies and programs designed for people to scale one to many, right? And for people who want businesses that impact one to many. When I say one to many, I mean thousands and tens of thousands of people, right? There are funnel hackers and $1 million funnels and passive income educations and strategies out there. This is not that room. This is not that room. Okay. I found as a service provider, as a lover of services, as a defender of one-on-one service-based businesses, that there are resources few and far between for people like us. For people like us who love one-on-one work, who want to scale one-on-one work, who want to make really, really good money and impact many clients, but do it in a way that honors the work of service and getting to work with our clients intimately and understanding their problems and building that intimate relationship with them and getting to do our superpower, right? Our secret sauce, right? Hey, Raven. Yeah, social media strategists love this. Nora says totally. Yes, exactly. Abigail's already quoting me. Okay. So I want to basically put this on the slide so you know I'm about to celebrate my 15th year as a service-based business owner. That also means I had an 8.5 year gap where I was a co-founder of an agency where we did services, $60, $70, $80,000 packages for marketing, branding, website, and copy design and copywriting. We also had $27 courses and a $149 a month membership and a 2K or a 10K group container. I have quite literally sold it all and been successful at selling at every single price point. And when I go back to what's the easiest way to scale, what's the most sustainable way to scale, what's the best way to scale with the least amount of overhead, and if I don't want to manage a huge team, and if I want to work intimately with people, it's service work. Every single time. I started out as a photographer, transitioned into a strategist, and now yell about service-based business scalability all day long. Here's a little sneak peek of the people and the things that matter most in my family. And to me, coffee, we've got a homemade salted caramel oat milk latte right here. I've been perfecting my espresso pour. That's my partner and my kiddo right in the middle. And then my other kiddo, my fur baby, Pepper, he's a sewer cat. He picked me to be his mama about 4 years ago now, which is bananas. So here's a little bit of those scaling lies like that I was talking about, right? That everyone believes. And I do think that we're starting to see a shift in this market of people saying, okay, I want to scale and it doesn't mean I have to completely pivot the type of business that I run. Okay, I want to scale and what could it look like to stay in services? Right? And that's the conversation we're going to have in this room because most people think scaling means creating more offers and meeting people where they're at. This is a phrase I recorded a rant about this. You're going to hear this episode on Tuesday about my kind of beef with that phrase right now and how people are using it. I just want to meet people where they're at. And typically that means I want to have a low priced offer so that I can be everything to everybody, or I want to include scope and assets out the eyeballs so I can be the yes woman for my clients, even though I know that's not what they need to actually get the result, right? Or I'm going to believe the hype of the marketing girlies that are really fucking good at their job and be convinced that I need a low priced offer. I need a DIY version of this. And you don't. You don't. Scaling looks different for service providers, for a fact. And scaling is much more simpler, concise, and dare I say easier as a service-based founder. It's certainly less expensive and it takes less time to get there. I shared this on stories, and definitely ask me any questions. I am a full open book in the chat as we progress through this conversation. I'm going to be sharing with you, yes, authority anchor and the framework and all of that today. But behind the scenes in this conversation, I want to have a transparent conversation with you about my own journey when I left that seven-figure agency, went back out on my own as a consultant, as a service provider, needing to figure out what the heck I was actually going to offer, having $0, zero income, and needing to replace my salary. And in my first year, having an annual revenue of $124,000. My second year, this was in 2023 and 2024, 2025, reaching $147K with no team, no human support, just systems, just productization, just my authority, and deciding to go even more in on my authority this time last year and the impacts that that had financially on my business. And now, Bookkeeper is here to attest to this. My financial girly Haley is here. We're projected to reach 240K this year. Yes, I'm bringing on human support. Okay. Yeah, that's coming in year 3. But that's what I'm telling you. If we capture the experience in the authority that you already have in this space, the results you already get your incredible clients, if that's captured appropriately and designed right, the scaling is a no-brainer. The scaling happens within months, not thousands of leads later, not having to capitalize on a 0.5% conversion rate that is the standard norm for low-priced digital marketing. It's that. We're not here for that. We're here for sustainable scalability, okay? And I believe, and I've seen it to be true over the past 3 years, that everything in your business connects to your authority anchor, period. Every single thing. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Here's the kind of visual that I want you to start to kind of ingrain in your brain and understand how this actually works. Your authority anchor is at the center. When we nail that down, everything becomes easier. This is why it's the first phase in working with me inside of Sold Out Services, where we nail this down together. It's why I talk about it openly and freely in workshops like this, because it's that important. If you can come into SOS with this figured out, girl, we've got half the problem solved, right? Your authority anchor determines who are you actually serving and who is that level 10 client. I could talk about level 10 clients all day. Also, I believe clients are on a spectrum, and I believe in positioning ourselves to serve level 10 clients because it pulls up our level 6, our level 7s, our level 8s as aspirational, right? Who want to become level 10s. When we talk to level 10s, we attract motivated level 6, 7, 8s, and 9s. If we keep our messaging positioned at 5, 6, or 7s because we think we're meeting people where they're at, and we don't want to exclude people, we exclude our dreamiest type of clients. And I promise you, every time I press you to get even more clear on that, the better conversions you're going to see, the happier you're going to be because of the clients that you're getting to work with. When you nail your authority anchor, it leaves your positioning, the question of that, completely off the table. It's so freaking clear. You know exactly who you're for, who you're not, and what you do. And we're going to get into how to define that here in just a second, the specific positioning of that. When you know your authority anchor, because you know your positioning, the result that you provide, you know the client experience that you want to provide, right? Some people's result is really high level and premium and like white glove and super, super high touch, right? So therefore, we need a client experience to match that, and that determines that. Some people's authority anchor and their positioning isn't as white glove, and that's fine. That's perfect. Okay, then that means we can't over deliver then in that client experience if we're not delivering that premium kind of result. And that's fine. Here's what that means then for your scalability. When we know our authority anchor, we know exactly what our content needs to be. When I open up Threads, when I open up LinkedIn, when I open up Instagram, when I hit record on my podcast, I know exactly who I'm talking to and what to say. That overwhelm of I don't know what to say disappears when we have this. when you know who you're helping and the result that you provide them, and you own that authority. It helps define your scope and deliverables. Okay, well, if this is the result I'm getting my client, if it's this specific result, what exactly is needed to get that result? What assets, what templates, what worksheets, what one-on-one review, how many revisions, what wireframe, what template, like whatever. What is needed, in what order, how much time in order for them to get that result. Knowing my authority anchor alone helped me refine sold out services, and it continues to over and over and over again, because like a lot of service providers, I was over delivering, right? And over delivery creates overwhelm, and over delivery creates unsatisfied clients because they didn't get all of the things done, even though you know they didn't actually need them, but you weren't in your authority enough to say, I'm not going to actually provide that part in our scope and deliverables because it's not needed. It also determines your pricing. Again, your client experience, your scope and deliverables, and your authority anchor all kind of position to understanding, okay, then what do I need to charge for this? Well, who are you working with, right? What's the result ROI? Why does it matter to your client? All of that lives in your authority anchor. So how do we actually find it? So here's what I want you to ask yourself right now, right? This is the one question I literally ask every single client who does not know their authority anchor yet. I want you to ask it, and I want you to start putting it in the chat. Like just rough draft, right? We're doing like C- work here today. That's fine. Here's the one question. What is the one result you wish every client would walk away with in each of your containers? And you can just dive into one today. But each of your offers need to have its own authority positioning. What do you get? And why does it matter if you work with me in this container, right? So if you were to ask me that question and you were to ask it about sold out services, I would say every single client inside sold out services, I want them to increase their capacity for more clients. Period. That's the result I want. How do we get there? What do I need to measure then to make sure we're working toward that? What assets need to be included to make that happen? What doesn't need to be there if that's my goal? Okay, Lacey says more capacity to sell and serve their clients. Yeah. Yeah. And so then here's an exact example. One of my favorite clients I've worked with. She's a podcast strategist, and she came to me and her positioning was something like, I help people tell their story on podcast interviews. And I said, who cares? Lovingly, who cares? Right? Isn't that kind of the whole point of podcasts, is everyone just, it's storytelling and you go and tell your story. Great. Tell me something I don't know, right? I say this a lot for people who have like very tangible deliverables. You're a website designer, you're a copywriter. Well, I build, high converting websites. I build beautiful websites. I build aligned websites. Who cares? That's your job. Great. What's so special about it? Like, that's what I want us to be digging into, right? So I say, okay, great. You help people tell stories on podcasts, guest interviews for what? Why does that matter to your client? And she said, so they can get more visible, right? I said, for what? Why does visibility matter? We all kind of want that, right? Why does that matter? So they can share their story and be seen. Why does that matter? So they can get on more podcasts. Why does that matter? For what? And eventually we turn to, they use those interviews to get clients. They borrow other people's audience, tell their story in a high converting way, and it books them actual clients off of other people's podcasts. That is where we're getting somewhere. That is when we dig into that and we say, okay, great. If my whole point here is to help my clients book their ideal client on other people's shows, is my service supporting them doing that? Am I tracking their progress in doing that? Am I positioned by calling out saying, that's what I can do for you, right? Yeah, the job is not the result, right? Yeah. So, okay. And then there's just some feedback from a lovely client who's, one of the things that we did for this client in particular was like broke out a really beefy service. And instead, because she was over delivering, right? And instead we broke it out into 3 individual tracks. So this person her clients could come to her for just one key element and get that solved. We're solving a problem from start to finish. That's what we're really paying attention to. And if we need to upsell or downsell them into something else, okay, great. But we need to solve a problem first, right? And track it. Okay, so here's a couple of examples. A lot of my clients come to me when we're working on Authority Anchor and they're like, okay, but Emily, it's got to be perfect and I need to land on it. And this is what I'm going to be using forever. And I want to give you the permission right now that we need to start putting on an experimental mindset in business if you haven't already. There is no positioning, no framework that anyone could ever sell you that you're going to get to plug in today and use for years to come. You're just not. That is how business works. And it is your job to start to be critical about when we need to adjust that positioning and for which room and for which offer, right? And be mindful of it. So I even have 2 to 3 different authority anchors at any given moment, depending on what room I'm in, depending on what angle I want to be talking about that day, depending on my hypothesis of if I lean on the word bespoke service providers, who does that attract? If I lean on contrarian of calling out low ticket digital products, who does that attract? If I say the word productizing, scale, who does that attract? And are these the people that I want to be working with? Right? It's all an experiment. And so I've highlighted and underlined the specific elements that I might trade out and change depending on the room that I'm in, depending on the page of my website, depending on the intro to that networking group that I'm going to go to, right? Here's another example. I could call on capacity, right? And so it depends on what is another example of how this really has a big impact in your business is if you look at each element of your authority anchor position statement, you can see every underlined or highlighted portion is also a content pillar. It's also an angle for your positioning, right? If I'm going to talk about bespoke service providers, I have an entire blog post right now talking about how continuing to be bespoke is slowing down your scaling. I'm going to connect that, right? I talk about how service work is scalable and how what you don't need to do in order to actually scale. I talk about the math of low ticket digital products, and I actually do a full breakdown of if this is your revenue gap and you fill it with a $299 membership or group coaching program, $299 a month, here's how many leads you would need in order to bridge that revenue gap versus doing this in your services. I talk about the effects of productizing, right? Okay, yeah. Lacey says, I get these types of messages. I'm looking for someone who can set up ad funnels for me, but collaboratively. I can do the copy, the creative, and the collab on the strategy, but it's the setup that gets me. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna get your strategy set up, the tech set up, so your team can be ready to plug in with your strategy and content. Right? It's a system you can maintain with 5 minutes a day. Like these are people who want the expert to set up the system, but then they want to get to come in and get to use it, right? We're going to call that out. That gives us so much clarity on the type of business owner then that you're working with. This isn't a newbie. This isn't someone who's afraid of tech. There are so many things about that statement right there that you can then do digging about who is that person. Okay. So again, to reiterate all of the areas that your authority anchor eliminates then more decision fatigue, right? We understand then who our level 10 clients are, and knowing that helps us price. If I'm working with seasoned business owners versus new business owners, my price is different, right? If I'm asking for referrals, who I ask for referrals is different depending on who my level 10 client is, right? My scope and deliverables, the actual tangibles, the assets, the timeline, how long does it take for us to achieve that result is different. The more seasoned business owner you're working with, the faster they want to see a result. The less experienced business owner you're working with, the longer it's going to take to see a result because they just don't have enough data. And they maybe don't have a big enough audience or a big enough budget or a big enough whatever. Those things impact the design of your container. So does client experience and communication, right? If it's high touch and high level, how are we communicating and what is the automation and the productization of that communication, of onboarding, of measuring their baseline, right? When we bring up support and I'm talking about expanding my own support, right? What actually can be delegated, what can be automated, what's a system support, what's a human support? I'm full on. I want you to exist in your strategy and your zone of genius and you doing the work with clients for as long as possible. I believe in strategizing and selling and relationships being the things that the founder should own for as long as possible. Unless you're legitimately in the business of going to sell your agency or your business, then owning those things is your job. It just is. I can help you get better at it. I can help it take less of your time. But if that's a friction point for you right now, and especially if you've been someone who says, oh my gosh, if I could just like outsource lead gen and selling, then it would be fine. No, it won't. No, it won't. I promise you that. We can templatize other things, but I want you to be supported in showing up to sell in a way that feels good for you because you know where you're actually selling and talking about, right? So when it clicks, I see generalist go to specialist, right? I see Jill of all trades going down to, actually, I've been honing in on this specific thing, providing this specific result. We do this by auditing your level 10 clients, your past clients, and measuring their level 10 score. There's an actual formula inside of Sold Out Services, right? Where you can identify and grade your past clients. And then we start to audit, okay, what did they come to you for? What did you actually promise? And what result did you actually get them? And where are the patterns and trends across those clients that we can start to spot consistency? And we can spot your authority hiding in plain sight, because generally it is. It's hiding. A lot of us are so close to it, right? We can't see the thing that we do freakishly well, but I can. I can spot those patterns from a mile away. Just get me into your data and I got it. Okay. When this stuff clicks, when it happens, the positioning gets clear, referrals increase, results from our level 10 clients increase, right? All good things as a service provider. When it clicks, you start to then, okay, and when I talked about this at the beginning, when you're at that ceiling season and you can't just rely on your warm network anymore and your referrals anymore, and they've probably started to dry up because your positioning isn't there because you've been saying yes to everything, right? And no one knows what you actually do. Okay, so we're going to fix that, right? So when we fix that, now you go all in on your authority, and that defines, okay, what is the container? What is the price? What are the scope and deliverables? What is the client experience, right? We design all of that once we nail your positioning, okay? Once that happens, you can now see and the math of, okay, well, I've maxed out previously at 5, 6 clients, but now I've brought back, because remember, my goal is to increase your capacity. So we're getting back to the goal of getting founders back 5 to 15 hours per week. 5 to 15 hours per week of your time as a founder once you productize and get closer to your authority anchor and position. What do we do with that 5 to 15 hours? It's entirely up to you. Some people are like, great, I love this. That's it. This is the business I want to run, and I'm here and I'm great. Most of my people are like, great, I want more revenue now. Awesome. Let's go make that happen. How are we going to do it? Are we turning into a micro agency and outsourcing and delegating, bringing in some white labeling, some VA partners, some support? Are we condensing this container into a done with you model, which is one of my favorite ways to do it? I've done both, done with you and agency. Building out agency right now. This is another thing. You get behind the scenes and SOS of like what I'm also actively building and designing, and you can pick the pathway that works for you or choose both, because I choose both, right? We love all of the things, right? So you get options. You get options. One of my clients, Natalie, when we nailed down her positioning, we closed out a group container that she was offering that was not providing the result that she knew she could get them because they weren't paying her enough, and she wasn't able to dig in as deeply as she needed to with them because it was a group container and she didn't have the capacity to do that, right? So when we sunset that, went all in on her core container where she was able to dive in intimately, because we got super fucking clear on that result. We were able to increase the price and the positioning. And she did a soft launch. I mean, these are service providers who, tell me right now if anyone has an email list. Most service providers don't. Some of us do, right? But I think she had like 200 or something people on her email list. So even though it existed, it was not a lot of people, right? Okay, yes. She had a $28,000 launch. Okay? 100 people. Great. That's all you need. Great. Okay. My point being, though, is once we start to get clear and we activate a pillar that I like to call hidden revenue, because everyone loves hidden revenue, right? We generate the revenue within our current audience, our current network first, because even though you've tried it the old way, we're going to try it the productized way with your authority anchor and see what clicks, so we can get some cash flow, right? But then we need to now increase that visibility. And all of a sudden, you have the energy and the desire to care about where you're showing up on Threads, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, at a BNI networking event. It doesn't matter. You get to pick. I'm never going to be the person that says, if you're not posting here, you're not going to scale. That's not what this is about. It's about the positioning, okay? And knowing the results and then productizing the shit out of every element so that you can increase your capacity. When I did this for Sold Out Services, exactly, it went from a one-on-one intimate retainer for my clients to a project that took 3 to 6 months to the container that it is now. And I went from serving 3 people to 5 to 7 to 9 to 13. And actively right now, including my done for you consulting clients, because I've got done for you side and Sold Out Services. And I am the only one who's doing client support at all, right? I have 23 clients. That's bananas. Okay. And it's great. And I just added more one-on-one access to me. More. The folks who are coming into Sold Out Services now get more access to me. That's what productization can do. Again, when this clicks, when the authority anchor lands, when the positioning lands, when the capacity is there, and we increase that and we decide, all right, now I'm going to go from 5 clients to 9, from 9 to 12, right? I have someone who started working with me about a year ago. She was able to serve 5 to 7. That seems to be the magic number on her own. We productize, we literally close down so many other offers and so many other low price products that she had that was confusing her audience. And right now she's got 18 active people. And her goal this year is to work with 40. And we're capping it at 40 because we need to do her next layer of productization so that she can now start to bring in human support to help her serve more people. Okay? But when that clarity lands, that's when things fly off the shelf. That's when people tag you on Threads and say, you need to hire Gail because she does this. You need to hire Lacey because she does that. That's when you're brought up in rooms because people know exactly the result you provide and that they're going to get that from you. Okay? Okay. I've yelled at you a lot. I'm not done. So, but right now, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee and invite you officially to Sold Out Services. Let's do this work together, right? There's more where this came from because at the end of the day, service work is scalable. It is when it's designed right. I am so sick and tired of seeing service providers leave this industry because they burnt themselves out, because they've convinced themselves that they have to sell the DIY version of their genius to an entirely different market, that they have to create a low-price digital membership or content hamster wheel in order to succeed. It isn't true. If you love doing that and it works, fuck yeah, man. I love that for you. I want you to also know there's another option, right? And one-on-one, intimate, one-on-one work is scalable when it's designed right. And that's the work we do inside of Sold Out Services. Yes. Lacey says she's getting tags on Threads, but it's my clients positioning me. Yeah. But the next layer of that are people who just know what you do. I get tagged now all the time and, oh, I think you need Emily for this. Well, I'm going to tag in Emily. She has an opinion about this, right? Yes. Yes. Okay. Here are just some kind words from some incredible humans. You can see all of these stories on Sold Out Services too, so I'm not going to linger here too long. It's just, I want you to see that the simplicity is right around the corner and it's inside Sold Out Services. It's realizing sometimes that we've maybe have accidentally built 2 different business models and Caitlin actually built 3 different business models and was running all 3. No wonder she was tired, right? So we're going to simplify and we're going to go all in, and then we're going to see that revenue increase because the capacity has increased. There are big wins for service providers inside of Sold Out Services. Here's one of my favorite ones. There's a section called Selling and Conversions inside Sold Out Services. even if you don't apply the entire method, because it's a 2-part method and some people do it in one, like this particular client, she was like, hey, do I have to do both parts? And I said, no, if you feel like you can combine them into 2, here's how I would do that. Go off to the races. And she did. She raised her price because we did the math and realized if this is your goal and this is the capacity that you have, this is the price point that it has to be, period. Right? So we did that. She closed a client in 7 hours using the framework. Her positioning was there. Her authority was there. She was asking the right questions. She applied it to what worked for her, which is the whole point. And then it worked, which is also the point, right? And I've lived this problem too. I could talk ad nauseum, and I have on multiple podcasts and in a blog. Actually, I can link it for you if you want to dig in a little bit deeper. But I've seen this in my own career. I left a 7-figure agency that had almost 80,000 email subscribers, 45,000 Instagram followers, hundreds of thousands of web traffic and sales, because every single day I woke up feeling like I needed to do the song and dance and release the next best trick, right? And find the best angle and the best offer and the best strategy and the best viral and the best whatever, because what I did last week wasn't working anymore because I had to constantly shift, and it was exhausting and it burnt me out. And it ended not well. There was a lot of therapy involved, right? But going back out on my own, digging back intimately into work with clients started everything over for me. And so I've seen it when you don't know what the heck you do. You know you're good, but you don't know what you do, and how hard that is to then scale that, because you can't. And so you're just chameleoning yourself to the next sale, hoping that that's going to be the thing that's going to be the answer that's going to get you to the next revenue goal. But you're going to maybe hit that and then have to do it again and again and again. And there's a difference between completely changing who you are and what you sell and who you serve, and being a business owner who evolves, right? Both of those things have similar aspects to each other. One is stressful and chaotic and burnout land. And the other is just being a smart business owner, right? And paying attention to data and patterns and trends. Everything in Sold Out Services starts with the authority anchor. It's why it's the first thing. It's the first deep homework, right? Because if we don't define what you're becoming known for, then nothing else can compound, right? The tagging and the referrals and the confident positioning, the refinement of the container and the price and how it actually functions and flows, none of that can happen because we don't know what we're doing. And your authority anchor determines what you sell, how you sell it, who it's for, what you talk about publicly, how you increase capacity, and how you increase profit per client. And that's what's designed for us to achieve together inside of Sold Out Services, okay? Most service providers stay in what I call Franken offers. They're creating this thing that solves barely a problem, and this thing over here, that's the DIY version. Or you can do this intensive that maybe solves this extra problem. And we're constantly turning around and pretzeling ourselves, right? To just get people to say yes, because we don't know what we're actually known for and the results that we're actually providing, because the data's sitting right in front of you. I'm going to pull it out for you. That's my favorite thing. Service providers coming to me and saying, okay, but I do brand and copy and websites. I don't know what the ROI is. I can tell you what to ask your clients. I can tell you what to start asking in the onboarding form so you can start getting that baseline data and then tracking it. I know. We can figure that out together. Okay? Yeah, Lacey's saying, I'm still like, WTF do I actually do? Yeah. You come up with a new way to refer and talk about yourself daily. That's exactly it. Okay? The clarity is what SOS does. It's a 12-month done with you container for service providers who want to stay service providers, but increase their capacity so they can increase their revenue. We build the systems together, the assets, the structure behind a truly productized business. We're going to go pillar by pillar. We're going to walk through the process together. so that your business stops depending on your capacity and starts running on your systems, right? There's a difference between booked out and sold out, right? And sold out is the scalable version. Okay? So we can make it official. Doors are open with a very special launch bonus that I'm going to talk about here in just a second. You can also see it on the sales page. Okay. Soldoutservices.com/enroll. I'll put that link here in the you could sell. Okay. So services, Raven, you're cracking me up. There's the URL right there. Check out, it's on there. Real quick, for those of you already heading to the sales page, there's a section on there where you're going to see my face pop up in a little video. If you have any question whatsoever, use that video. You can record an audio message, a video message, or type a message, or book a one-on-one 15-minute with me. I love an asynchronous business. Hello, Sold Out Services is done with you, right? It's asynchronous for a reason. Lifestyle. But ask your question in whichever way works for you. Okay. We're going to ultimately redesign your offer, rebuild your delivery, refine your positioning, and install those systems to protect your capacity. And my dream and my goal underneath increasing your capacity so we can increase your revenue is to change how you think about the data in your business. Most people are now finally catching on to like, okay, I get it. I need to track this. I need to look at this. I need to see this. But then you look at the numbers and you're like, what is that actually telling me? What do I actually do with that information? How do I use that to actually scale? We're going to flex that muscle together. And I want to change the way you think about scaling your business. I want to put you back in the driver's seat of autonomy, of deciding if this is where I'm at, is this where I want to be? And if not, what needs to change exactly in order to get to where I want to go? Right? Okay. Built-in phases. So there's 7 pillars like I talked about. We're going to define your productized offer first. What are we actually productizing, right? So we can do it from top to bottom. What is the positioning, your actual authority anchor of that container? And then implement each pillar with review from me. There are no delivery assistants in Sold Out Services. It's me, okay? And then we pressure test it. That's why it's a year-long container, because we're pressure testing and evolving so that as you move forward, right? What tweaks need to be made based off real life feedback. We can hypothesize all day long, but if real clients aren't going through this, then you just have a game plan that will hopefully work, right? But we're going to actually pressure test it. There's so many levels of support, but a couple of the ones that I want to call out here. This is a done with you container. And brand new to this round, which I'm very excited about. Again, in order for me to increase my capacity, do you see? Do you see how I'm doing it? When you enroll, you're going to get an email from me where you're going to pick your onboarding start date. Some of you need to wrap up a big client project before you have the capacity to join us in SOS. That's fine. Enroll, pick a later start date. Some of you are like, next week on the 23rd is when we kick off our first onboarding window, March 3rd. You're like, I'm ready to hit the ground running on March 21st or 23rd. I want that window. You can pick that one. I'm intentionally limiting each window to 6 people. Okay. I'm onboarding 6 people every 2 weeks. That's how I'm spreading it out because you get my full time and attention. I need to know your business inside and out in order to know how to support you. Okay. What that entails when you pick your onboarding window, you're going to get a client dashboard that's going to show you now all of your deadlines for each submission piece so that you can stay on track. When we build the momentum, we want to keep that momentum, right? And test things in real time. We don't want to install a pillar and then sit there for 4 months. We want to keep moving. So the deadlines are there to hold you accountable. Of course, everything is flexible. You have an entire year and this structure seems to be really, really working. All right. You also get unlimited support tickets for like quick hit questions if you're stuck. I don't want you stuck like, waiting for me or anything. So you get 72 business hour. I'm hoping to bump that up. Right now I can promise 72. I'm hoping to bump it up to 24. I know that's crazy. I'm hoping to bump it up to 24. Again, productization and support, right? We also brought on office hours a couple months ago, and they are a fucking game changer. I love them so much. They're completely optional. They're not coaching calls. It's not even recorded. It's true. Like if you went to college, right? Office hours with your professor, that's what it is. My office door is open for 30 minutes. You come in if you want to, you don't if you don't. You come in for one question and you leave. You come in and you stay the whole time and you see what's going on. It is entirely up to you. That is a great space to screen share, brainstorm, verbal process. It's really great for my verbal processors, and just like check in with each other. There are also a couple, I think 3 or 4, custom AI support trained. These are not chat GPTs. I built these and designed them and paid for them myself. They were very expensive and I pay to maintain them. And they are inside and they're only available and accessible through the program, nowhere else. It is my brain to kind of get your first eyeballs on your first draft before you submit, because I want you to submit B-, C+ work for your first milestone. I then review it, I send it back to you, you button it up, and then you submit your final version and we plug into the next thing. Okay? So you get one revision on every single thing that you submit inside of SOS. It's designed for depth, then we build it, then we validate it, and then we refine it. That's the structure. Okay? It's $2,500 for a 12-month strategic partnership with me. With me. And the cool thing is this week only, I have a brand new launch. It was a brand new launch bonus. This is brand new. It's never been, I'm so fucking excited about it. I don't know if y'all know of Chelsea Quint. She's of the Business Whisperer. She is an incredible sales, strategic copy person, strategist. How many times can I say strategy, right? She's fucking good is what she is. Okay. So she's plugging in later in the program, right? So when I talked about earlier how when you increase your capacity and then all of a sudden you become ready for like more visibility and to like talk about your thing in front of more people and to like get more people to work with you, right? Outside of your referral hot network. Well, you have to like show up somewhere for that, right? Whether that be LinkedIn or Threads or Instagram or podcast or a blog, it doesn't matter. You get to pick, right? But there is still some element of like, okay, well, how can I be strategic about what to say? Yes, we have our positioning in place, but like we're not all of us are content experts, right? I do consider myself a strategic copywriter as well. So you kind of get 2 brains on your content, right? I am the repurposing content queen. We can talk about that separately. But basically what happens is your capacity has increased and now we need to, get some more clients in the door and get you in front of more people. We need visibility, right? And so what's happening is you're going to be able to plug in your authority anchor, your level 10 client, because we're going to build that profile together, and your buyer bridge framework, which is an entire methodology inside of Sold Out Services. But you're going to do that work already. You're going to submit that to Chelsea. Chelsea's going to work with you to help build like a rough draft of a 90-day content plan. 90 days of content. You're going to get that rough draft. Then you get to book a one-on-one with Chelsea to go over that content plan. That is for free. I'm paying for that for you. I'm paying for it. Not you, me, because it's critical. Because I'm testing what does more support for content and visibility, how does that impact your results? I want to increase your capacity. I did that. Now, how can I increase your revenue? Well, we need visibility, right? And so we're testing this. This is me in real time testing what do I need to add and install and be intentional about inside of Sold Out Services to support you in getting the results that matter to you. You can increase your capacity all day, but if you don't land a client inside of this open capacity, what's it for, right? So we're going to solve that problem. So I'm really, really, really excited about this one. It's going to be a ready install campaign. So I'm very excited about that one. That is going away on March 19th. Sold Out Services is open. This particular bonus is going away on March 19th. I just wanted to have full transparency on that, okay? So when you head to soldoutservices.com/enroll, you can read more, like there's so much stuff. Also, check out my new website because it's brand new. It just launched today. And can you tell I went to art school? Like, it's so good. It's so weird. It's so good. Okay. So go check that out. Go check it out at soldoutservices.com/enroll. Any of the buttons, it's hot linked. It's going to take you down to checkout at the very, very bottom. So read through what you want to read through. Click around. If anything's broken, don't tell me today. I can't handle it. We already had a huge tech issue this morning. I don't need any more. But checkout is there, right? And so choose a payment plan that works for you and get your booty inside. So when you enroll, do you want me to screen share? Do you want to see anything inside? Let me know. And I have the tabs pulled up, but we're here still for about 18 more minutes. I'm here for questions, and I'm here to walk you through anything inside of the actual like portal. But there's some really cool things. So what you're going to get as soon as you enroll is you're going to get a couple emails. Due to the capacity, right? And for you to pick your onboarding window, you are being given access to just one small portion initially. And then when your onboarding window is here, you get access to the entire framework. Okay. So this is the first thing that you're going to see. You're going to get an email that's going to give you access to ThriveCart, which is going to open up this. This is housekeeping. This gives you a visual of the pillars of what we're going to install together. This is going to give you just reminders of like, remember, you need to select your onboarding wave. And once you do, that start date will be communicated via email. You're going to get 12 months of access no matter what. That's the cool part. Doesn't matter. Pick your start wave whenever you want. But you are welcome to complete your onboarding form. I know we like to dive in and like to get started. And so I wanted to give you some stuff that you could kind of dig into that's not over welcome. You're also welcome to attend office hours in the meantime. So you can come, hang out with us, see what other people are working on, ask some questions, whatever, no big deal. When you go into here for begin orientation, definitely watch this first. It's going to give you an overview. Here's the subscribe to the calendar for office hours. Here's how to submit your support ticket. That's going to be linked right inside there. But we are utilizing Airtable for some formulas. I'm an Airtable girly. So I explain why that's here and how it works. So you're going to duplicate your base. And then this is your onboarding form. So again, like you can get into some of the weeds and start this onboarding form right away. It's beautiful. Look at this. Okay, so there's that. Then once you get through that, you can also dig into understanding productization. I want you to understand more of like the method of madness to get to our end result. So talking about signature service, talking about the philosophy of productization, the mistakes, I'm going to call them out early so that you can catch them when you make them later, because you're going to make them. That's part of this process. It's fine, but I want you to be aware of it, right? I also want you to understand, what is this going to look like? What is your current business going to look like as you start to make the shift toward productization? Because remember when I said at the beginning, there's growing pains coming your way? There are, and they're okay. We're going to get through that. There are growing pains at every single level of business. I'm having them right now. This tech issue we had. So I want to like set the stage, and then we're going to go into why are we actually auditing your offer and what does it mean? What information do you need to start kind of gathering? And this is going to help you get prepped for your first homework. So your first milestone is doing an offer audit, and then submitting, okay, this is the container that I think I should productize. What do you think? And I give feedback on that, and then we go from there. Okay. Oh, some questions. All right. Jessica, can you talk about how this system works with higher ticket services? Yes. My clients are usually spending 10 plus K. So I'm wondering if my lower frequency sales calls project provide. Yes. How many clients have you worked with? One. If it's a minimum of 3, then we're good. We can spot patterns and trends. Don't look at my nails. I was trying to not show you my nails. My best friend had her baby last Saturday, and I picked off my nails in the waiting room, and I haven't had time to fix it. Don't look at them. Oh yeah, dashboard. Okay, sorry. I'm getting excited. So I have clients inside of SOS who charge 30, 40, 50K. And I have clients who charge like $2,500 a month, and truly everything in between. So that specific price point doesn't matter. If you have 3 clients that you've worked with in that or a similar container, there's enough enough meat, enough sustenance for us to go through. Okay. Courtney says, does this have to be done in 12 months or could we go through it faster? Great question. Most folks, even without the deadlines, get through it within 5 to 6 months. And then we have 6 to 7 months of data and refinement. You use office hours and support tickets to ask your questions and show up and like get that support. With deadlines, if you don't miss a single deadline, it's designed for you to go through it depending on your onboarding wave, from when your onboarding wave starts to when the last submission is required, it's 5.5 months. Okay. Bold. Casey, I know. Bold moves doing all this during a Mercury retrograde. That's why we had the tech issues at the beginning. Fucking Mercury. Okay, you talked about dashboard. Can you see it? Absolutely, Raven. Okay, do I have it open? All right, so now once you make it through housekeeping, you're going to get access to the framework, the actual process, the methodology of sold out services. Okay, all of these things. Overview of the pillars. This is where you can subscribe to that calendar again, submit a support ticket, and then here's your client dashboard. Here's what that looks like. Share this tab. Okay, do you see it? I can't see chat, so hopefully you do. All right, so you find your name here. So I'm going to just test my name real quick. And my dates aren't accurate. I haven't actually plugged mine in yet. So the dates aren't right, but this is what you're going to see. Again, hot links to most frequently accessed resources, right? Your onboarding form if you haven't, your support ticket, head to housekeeping, head to main content. And then, of course, I'm linking my podcast and my blog because I say some pretty good shit on the reg. And I sometimes answer some of the questions or the hesitations that you might be having in an actual episode because I can read your mind. And so every Tuesdays and Thursdays, a new episode comes out. And then about once a month, a new blog post comes out. So I'm just hot linking those here to, basically to bring you into my cult. All right. But once you select your onboarding date, your program start date will be entered here. Your onboarding form is going to be due here. And then each milestone is listed here. Your draft due and your final due will be populated. Once you actually submit your draft, the review deadline will populate. And that is when you're going to hear from me. That way you're like, okay, I submitted my productized offer, but when am I going to hear from Emily? And you're going to see the date here. And it's going to be either before or on that date. Okay. Then you can head into support library. And this is where all previous support tickets have been answered. And when you start asking support tickets, you can find the ones you specifically have submitted right here. So this is brand new. So there might be some, new things added to it, but we're trying to keep it simple for right now. But I love a deadline and I love being held accountable with work that I need to do, right? Raven says, I've been listening to you for months. Yeah. Hi. Okay, Gail, would you recommend this for a newer business owner or wait? Okay, great question. And I'm going to answer it honestly. You have to practice your own discernment, okay? If you are a newer business owner who has worked with 3 to 5 clients in a container similar enough to what you think we could productize, you're good to go, right? If you have done 3 to 5 clients, but they've each been a vastly different container, probably not enough data. If you are feeling very, 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 very stressed out about leads right now, and you're like, no, I need to land a client next month or I'm not going to be able to pay the bills, probably not ready. This is for, I know I provide good shit. I know it because I've done it, even if it hasn't been in a clear container, right? Does that answer your question? I know that that's kind of like you decide, but there is no magic number. A little bit of this is like your personality and attitude, right? Of like, all right, I think I could fucking turn it up with some clarity and some systems and I can get it, right? And with Emily's perspective on my genius and what I should be, because I know what you should be positioned for. I know you. I know what you could package up. What would be fun for you? So Gail's a systems person and she's really, really good at, I'm sure, a handful of systems, but we've had some conversations about ClickUp, right? I have an idea of some positioning and some things that we could test, but we could talk about that. Submit a question on the video ask if you want to brainstorm this because you have 7 days to decide. Sit with it. Deepa says, transitioning from corporate to starting a side business. So I have data over years of doing this, but not as a business owner. Exactly. That was my other example. Thank you. If you are coming from a corporate space and you have done operations, team leadership, project management, design, copywriting, whatever, HR, right? If you have done that thing for however many years in that space, and now you are starting your own service business as a consultant, that's perfectly fine. We are going to handle your first couple of clients a little bit differently. We're going to handle, one of the things I didn't even mention is that you unlock 2 one-on-one calls with me at various points in the program. And we can dig into the weeds of your scope and deliverables in one of those calls. And so for those folks, I really, really want to chat with you about your previous experience and how we can put that into a container and pressure test it with the people who you feel comfortable selling to right now, right? And that's going to be your warm network and past peers, colleagues, etc. But we've got to get evidence that it is a result that people want, right? So the Venn diagram that I want you to kind of picture here is, and I think I can stop sharing at this point. The Venn diagram that I want you to picture is, who are my level 10 clients? Okay, we know this, right? What is the result that they care about? What is the result I know that I can get? And where do they overlap? Can you hear me? Where do they overlap? Right? That is the magic spot. And you can start thinking about that before we work together and come to your authority anchor submission, your productized offer submission with that information. Okay. Yes, the dashboard is not Airtable. The dashboard is Zeit. It's fill outs. It's connected with Airtable. So it's integrated. It reads all the data, but it's visualized in Zeit. It's so sexy, isn't it? And here's another thing you need to know about me. I'm a fucking sucker for systems. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about in your scope and deliverables in your client experience plan is utilizing tech where we can. And whatever your comfort level is, I'll suggest like, okay, this is the thing that's easiest for you because your comfort level is super low. So like do this, right? Or if you like to play around with tech, I'm going to recommend this. Or if you are fully ready to outsource tech, there are people I can refer you to. Gail's one of them. There's also a program for Airtable build-outs I can refer you to. We've got the resources. My network is your network, okay? Also, how many times have I hired my own clients? Too many times. The limit does not exist. Okay, I think that's it. Unless there's other questions, I'm going to be here all day, not on this call, but I'm going to be available. Thank you guys for like waiting through all the tech issues with me. That was annoying. I'm going to be on answering questions through video ask, so don't hesitate. I love you all so much. Thank you for hanging through the 6-minute delay. I cannot wait to work with you inside of Sold Out Services. I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to create multiple 6-figure service providers without a huge team, without digital products. It's just a personal life mission of mine. And I want you to be a part of that, right? Do not hesitate to ask questions via video ask. I am truly an open book. You can do even a Loom or a video walkthrough, like a video walkthrough or a voice memo that lays out your like situation, and I can give specific guidance on where you're at. This is a decision, like I want you to think about it, right? Like enroll if it feels good. And then if you've got a question, ask it. This is a year-long hangout with me that you're signing up for. So be for real. Okay. I'm sweating profusely and I need 7 sips of water. And I love you all so much. It doesn't get any less weird than this or any less yelly. So also that's why I have webinars, so that you guys can understand what you're getting into, because it's either for you or it isn't. And either way is perfect. I love that journey for you. Okay. Gail, I love you so much. Yes. Keep yelling and being weird. It is the vibe. It is the vibe. It's all I know. All right. I love you all so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I hope to see some names here from the chat enrolling inside of SOS, and I'll be around. Okay. You guys have a great rest of your Thursday. I'll see you later.